That's why I open woke sessions. Mind, body, soul, no second guessing. Spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing. Wisdom, honey, cash and knowledge, blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open the road. Eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies, and these chains we roll. Truth on the mic, destiny and vote. Hands to the streets, wide open.
Hey, we're gonna have to make that a little bit more shorter. Right from that song should go right into that video. You know how it should go. This is Audi Rob with Wide Open World Podcast. We're coming to you with live information from the past, present, and possibly the future. Yes, the future too. We are living in a paradigm world, but you guys gonna see a whole lot more stuff coming up between now and 2030. But in the meantime, I gotta fill you guys in for some of your old heads who've been watching this NASA thing going on and this in how this uh alien contact dealing with NASA. Because see, NASA been doing some lying. Yeah, that's why what's it the old joke, our City Hall joke, say he never wanted to be a black man in space because he never wanted to good about had to say the words like yes NASA, no NASA. Yeah, he said he couldn't do that. He didn't want to be a black astronaut. Yes, NASA, no NASA. Anyway, yeah, there's the alien contact, and NASA knows all about it, but they don't want to put in their 2 cents because he knows the whole world looks up to NASA. And once NASA gives in, it must be true. But it's always going to be true if NASA gives in or not. So this is just some material that they've been hidden in this old video that they've always been in contact with aliens, or they always knew about aliens. They just haven't told the American public or humanity about what they found. So here we go. We're going to go into this video right here without further ado. Want you guys to check it out.
It was from here that men and women, propelled by sheer nerve and talent, set about pushing the boundaries of humanity's reach. That's the story of NASA, and it's a story that started a little more than half a century ago, far from the space coast in a remote and desolate region of what is now called Kazakhstan. As a nation, we set about meeting that goal, reaping rewards that have, in the decades since, touched every facet of our lives. NASA was at the forefront. Many gave their careers to the effort. Some have given far more.
For over 50 years, space exploration has risen to become one of man's most notable accomplishments. It's interesting how 2 countries obsessed with destroying each other with bombs sparked a new generation of space exploration. Without the unfortunate events of World War II or the Cold War, NASA would not be able to stretch its arms into space the way they can today.
Seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Alien sculpture head.
NASA
That's
has sent men to
alien
walk
skull.
on the moon. They have sent ships to the farthest reaches of the solar system. They have invented hundreds of innovative devices we all use. They are loved and respected the world over. They were formed after the Second World War, in an age of rapid human technological advancement. For thousands of years, mankind had remained in pretty much the same state, until the 20th century. Then, suddenly, we took to the skies. We created machines to think for us. We devised weapons of mass destruction, and we made plastic. The scientific advancement we enjoy now in the 21st century came from somewhere, and it came in line with one peculiar event: the global sightings of UFOs. Around the world, UFOs appeared in the skies, and man began to wonder. Then, in 1936, one of them crashed in Germany. Hitler ordered a full-scale investigation. The Nazis started to make their own.
Oh, okay then. So that's what kind of got Hitler involved. Yeah, Hitler, they said they had one crash in Germany. So Hitler was already ahead of the game, as you know, that he went and started creating his own spacecrafts and for the war. But the war had came down on him so fast that he didn't get a chance to even use them. But I heard that we went down there and got them, and it's in one of our bunkers here in the U.S. So that's interesting. Wow. Let's go back to this.
Together with their work on the occult, they had a vague understanding of what we call today quantum physics. All sides in the war experienced the phenomena we call the Foo Fighter. The Nazis rapidly advanced in technology. At the end of the war, Operation Paperclip saw the extraction of Nazi scientists who had the knowledge. Sightings of UFOs grew year after year. One crashed at Roswell, and within 10 years, NASA was born.
Wow.
America rapidly advanced in technology. Now, decades later, hundreds of whistleblowers claim that NASA not only know about alien visitations, but that they are in contact with them. Evidence of artifacts on the Moon and Mars has brought huge debate among the scientific community.
Evidence on the Moon and Mars. You hear that? Evidence on the Moon and Mars has brought, everybody's attention to this. Man, this is deep.
Astronauts have been told
the
to
old
remain
video,
silent,
too.
and yet the whistleblowers grow in numbers.
Wow.
We investigate the government cover-up of the UFO phenomena and reveal some startling new evidence. It's time to go where no man has gone before.
The government been covering up already. Way back then. Actual footage.
NASA is one of the most highly respected and loved institutions on the planet. Full to the brim of heroes, behind the scenes and in the public eye. They have walked on the moon, placed incredible satellites in orbit, sent spaceships to the edges of the solar system, and invented hundreds of highly advanced items we now use every day in our homes. They have taken us to places no man has gone before and shown us the wonder of the universe. And yet, only 60 years before they even existed, Victoria was on the throne of the British Empire. The Boer War was going strong, and nobody had even taken off the ground in a powered aeroplane. How did mankind, in such a short space of time, manage to put a man on the moon? For thousands and thousands of years, man lived a life that was the same. A man living in 1000 AD lived pretty much the same life to that of a man living in 4000 BC. But then man entered the 20th century and it all changed. Why? We can only answer this by travelling back in time to the Second World War and the origins of NASA.
Wow.
Close to the end of the Second World War, the Allies were increasingly becoming aware that Nazi Germany was developing extraordinary technology. The days of propeller-driven fighter planes were rapidly becoming a thing of the past. Now, new rocket technology was merging with sophisticated guidance systems.
Illustrative of Germany's progress in aviation is the rocket jet plane Me-160P, introduced to combat in the summer of 1944. These captured German films present an interesting study of the plane. External features of the Me-163 are short, squat fuselage, sharply swept-back wings, and its single fin and rudder without tailplane or elevator. Tremendous jet thrust makes takeoff very fast. After takeoff, the undercarriage is jettisoned to save weight, for the Me-63 is a short-range airplane in which all is sacrificed to permit a fast climbing single attack and breakaway. Rate of climb is 10,000 feet a minute. Low-grade fuel creates long white contrails. Speed varies in flight from 150 to 600 miles an hour. Endurance at full speed is limited to 8 minutes, but gliding between short bursts increases flight duration to about an hour. Retractable skid is used for landing. The skid provides a method of braking, and landing can be made even on an unprepared field. Since the Germans probably passed on their plans for jet propulsion to Japan, it's possible that similar planes will appear in the Pacific. Speed of the Me-163 impaired its maneuverability. Our fighters could turn inside them and generally outfought them, as the following gun-sight aiming point camera pictures show.
Even during the war, hundreds of tales of the infamous Foo Fighters emerged. These were strange lights seen to dance almost intelligently around planes on all sides of the conflict. Many were dismissed, but many more were in fact being taken seriously by scientists. At the very top level, Allied intelligence suspected these were in fact the advanced technology possessed by the Germans. The Germans thought the same of the Allies. In some cases, Foo Fighters even caused physical damage to Allied planes. There were in fact a great many sightings of UFOs during the war. In Pennsylvania in 1939, a large so-called jet airline was spotted without wings. In the same year in Wisconsin, a large egg shape was spotted through a telescope. In England, a large bell-shaped object appeared following a strange buzzing sound. In 1940, 5 large disc shapes were seen in the US flying off into the clouds. In Scotland, anti-aircraft gunners trained their weapons on a disc object. In 1941, a pastor was called to give the last rites to several crash victims. He later described them as not human.
Wow.
The list goes on, with balls, bells, discs, and cigar-shaped objects. Many have unusual lights and move around like nothing ever seen before. The sightings are not just in the US, they appear worldwide, from China to Holland, from Japan to Russia. Many believe that in our darkest hour, aliens were monitoring events. Some believe they were also taking part. Nobody is sure, and all governments are silent on the events. An in-depth study of the sightings can filter out known aircraft and known test craft. Zeppelins, for instance, can be considered to be cigar-shaped, but they don't move hundreds of miles per hour, and they certainly don't shoot off into the clouds at right angles. Any filter leaves behind hundreds of sightings that are quite simply unexplainable from the perspective of human technology. At the end of the war, the Allies introduced Operation Paperclip. Leading Nazi scientists, working on everything from medical experimentation to rockets, were extracted and taken away to the USA. Many would later find themselves working for NASA. Then, in 1947, sightings of UFOs began emerging in the US. The Air Force set up Project Sign to investigate. They showed how many of the UFOs actually appeared to look like the flying wing of the German Horten brothers, even though the US had already flown their own version in 1946.
The Northrop Flying Wing stands ready for the long-awaited test flight at Inglewood, California. Test pilot Max Stanley and his crew go aboard. The climax of 7 years of engineering research is at hand for the 25-ton monster, and it's contact. The four 3,000-horsepower motors turn the coaxial propellers on the 25-ton giant. Pilots have expressed amazement that the tailless craft has precisely the same flight characteristics as conventional models. With slow, almost lazy grace, the 172 feet of wing is airborne. 15 sister ships are under construction for the Army, which will use them as bombers. Fully loaded, they will weigh 50 tons. The flight engineer is a busy man during the test flight. A radical change in design and a new chapter in the steady march of aviation comes forward to challenge the imagination.
A new project followed, called Project Blue Book. The head, Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, said,
When WW2 ended, the Germans had several radical types of aircraft and guided missiles under development. The majority were in the most preliminary stages, but they were the only known craft that could even approach the performance of objects reported by UFO observers.
In 1950, an Italian professor revealed that during the war, both the Germans and Italian scientists had in fact been working on flying discs. He strangely stated that some great power is launching discs to study them. Whatever that meant.
Some great power.
In 1953, Avro Canada began developing a disc-shaped aircraft that could reach speeds of 1,500 miles per hour. They called it the Avro car. German engineers claimed that they had already done so, and that Avro had simply stolen the idea. In 1965, a bell-shaped craft crashed in Pennsylvania. Many related this to the German Bell craft of the war that was supposedly developed. Little real evidence exists, but it is stated that the energy system was some form of occult anti-gravity system. In the same month as the crash, German scientist Rudolf Schriever claimed that he had designed a 15-meter diameter disc-shaped craft at the BMW Prague Works in 1945. He was convinced that the blueprints had been stolen by Czechs and built the craft for, as he said, a foreign power. Aeronautical engineer Roy Fedden remarked, "I've seen enough of their designs and production plans to realise that if they, the Germans, had managed to prolong the war some months longer, we would have been confronted with a set of entirely new and deadly developments in air warfare." Any historian of the Second World War will tell you that the Germans were amazing engineers. They developed a machine or device for almost everything. When retreating from Russia, they even made a machine to rip up the rail tracks as their trains sped along.
Wow.
But historians of the Nazis
deep.
will also tell you that, at the very highest level, they had occult beliefs in strange powers. Decades later, and scientists started to come to...
Whoa. Occult beliefs in strange powers. They've had that over there in Germany. Project Paperclip, they brought those scientists over, helped develop the rockets, develop the NASA program. But mind you, all those scientists didn't come over in Project Paperclip. Some of them stayed over in Germany. And they helped develop the auto industry, which is the famed Audi. Yeah, that's why they're always number one. Side note. Anyway, let's get back to what we're looking at here. But that's deep. That's really deep.
a realization that there were, in fact, some strange powers previously unthought of. They developed quantum physics. The concepts of quantum physics can seem quite bizarre. It reveals how particles can be in more places than one at any given time, and that this can be affected by simply observing. A particle may at any given time appear to be a particle or a wave. Particles seem to travel instantly over any distance, evading Einstein's claim that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. There are no certainties on how a particle will react. They call this the uncertainty principle. It states that when observing a particle, the observer brings a probability wave or state of mind to the observation and affects the particle. By simply measuring, we are giving the measurement. Because of all these bizarre concepts, theorists have gone crazy with all manner of ideas about multiple universes and such. It begins to merge with the world of the occult. The ability to stop observing existence from a human perspective and to go free with the mind may in fact open a quantum realm to consciousness. It has been something that man has known about for millennia. He just didn't have the modern scientific terminology for it. The world of the occult, quantum physics, and the conscious mind of man merge in many ways. Particles are affected not just by observing them, but by thinking about observing them. The Nazis were convinced that mankind's ancestors had worked out ways of tapping into this universal power, and they hunted it out for use as a weapon of world domination. From the 1960s, many writers were coming to the conclusion that the Nazis had in fact almost broken the code to understanding the power of what they called Vril. And in so doing, they had called upon forces even they were not expecting. aliens.
They do know. They've always known. They've always known. 2027 contact. If not sooner than that. But get ready, folks. It's going to be wonderful. Don't be scared.
In order to understand this properly, we have to stop thinking in the standard way. We have to stop expecting aliens to only land in great craft and ask to see our leaders. Instead, travel across space and, indeed, time can be possible in a quantum world, or a world of that occult power the Nazis sought. Tapping into this power may in fact be like opening a channel on a two-way radio, but in this case, to another world. Such peculiar energy could also be an explanation for the emergence of the Foo Fighter during the war. Grand-scale particles of light that move around in ways impossible for ordinary aircraft in the standard model of physics. But where did the Nazis get this knowledge from? Was it the pressure to win the war for their Führer? Or had they discovered another source? Hitler came to full power in 1933 with his occult-infused henchmen. Quickly, Germany began to build its forces, and men were sent out around the world to seek out occult artifacts and icons to grow the hidden power of the Reich. Germany was becoming the world's first superpower. Then, in 1936, after years of occult scientific research, something peculiar happened. A flying saucer crashed in the German countryside near the Black Forest. The German army quickly recovered the remains, and that was the last anybody heard. Immediately, the High Command and Hitler himself were informed of the discovery. A full investigation was ordered. The ship was moved to a location near the Rhine, and other parts to a secret base near the Austrian border. A team was assembled to investigate and reverse engineer the craft, and included members of the Luftwaffe, scientists, engineers, and professors. Among them were the Horten brothers, who would later design the flying wing that many thought was a UFO. They also supposedly invented the first stealth jet fighter. One expert was Victor Schauberger, who invented the imploder motor that powered the Bell ship and supposedly created rifts in space-time. The crashed ship was made from materials unknown to all the scientists, and they struggled to replicate it in the lab. Hitler ordered the technology to be utilized in the war effort, and no expense was spared. But time was running out for the Nazis. And although they did manage to make a flying saucer, it was unstable, and the war ended before they could complete their work. Much of the blame was placed on their inability to recreate the metal from the crashed ship. Modern steel was too heavy, and aluminium too soft. They did eventually mix aluminium with magnesium. Documents found after the war show that Polish slave workers created a manufacturing base for the flying disc weaponry, including one called Ball Lightning. Hitler and Himmler both witnessed test flights. It was said they could achieve speeds in excess of 1,250 miles per hour and were very maneuverable. A powerful electrostatic field was emitted, causing instruments on other aircraft to malfunction and even cause burns on animals. This kind of peculiar burn on cattle and farm animals has been reported worldwide ever since. Hitler told his people that he had a secret weapon, one so powerful that the entire world would surrender before him. But he ran out of time and shot himself in his bunker in Berlin.
Nazi Germany's prize secret, the deadly V-2 rocket bomb, is assembled by U.S. engineers for testing. Rivaling the atom bomb in importance, the 46 feet of death and destruction is set in place by an ingenious elevating boom at White Sands Proving Ground near Las Cruces, New Mexico. Parts to make up 100 V-2s were brought from Germany, and Proving Ground officers are carrying on experiments involving war and peace uses. In this test, the warhead is replaced by scientific instruments, and a concrete blockhouse with walls 10 feet thick and a roof 27 feet thick houses the control personnel and the firing mechanism. The monster is in place, and here she goes, as shown by the slow-motion camera. Climbing 75 miles above the jagged peaks of the Organ Mountains, the great guided missile is directed and the results recorded by radio, radar, photographic, and visual equipment. 60 seconds after leaving the ground, the rocket can attain a top speed of 3,000 miles per hour. In this case, the flight was controlled, as viewed through a tracking device. But the future use of rocket power knows no limits.
Wow. Here's where we're going to go right here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and make this video short. 32 minutes there. 32 minutes, basically, because we want to make sure I get most of this content in so I'd be able to get in like within 30 minutes instead of a full hour. Because I don't want too much information to come in. And kind of, I don't want to bore you guys either. I want you to guys pay attention to the information. These videos right here are probably a little boring slightly because they were older, but they're coming with true information that was out way before this information is out now. So they were already ahead of the game. It's just that these are hidden once they came out, and they didn't want you guys to see them on a consistent basis. So they kept them out of the way so y'all wouldn't wake up. But now they're back out because I got a hold of them. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and end this one right here, and we're going to go ahead and bring it in on this part 2 for that alien contact with NASA and all that stuff exposed with NASA. So peace, love, and light. Ashe.
Blast wide open, woke sessions. Mind, body, soul, no second guessing. Spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing. Wisdom hunting, cash and knowledge blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open the road. Eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies, and these chains we roll. Truth on the mic, destiny and vote. Hands to the streets.